Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, depending on where in the world you are and at what time of the day you're watching this. This is actually my first video interview since launching my newsletter, Retirement and New Adventure newsletter, and I am excited about it. If you remember, in the first issue of the newsletter, I mentioned two disturbing situations regarding persons who had retired. One lady who, after she retired, she was going into the parking lot every morning, driving to the office every morning, sitting down in the parking lot. And the other incident of a gentleman who, after he retired, he was kept on for an extra 4 years, and then they let him go, and he just went into depression and committed suicide. And those are real life stories, not fiction at all.
Right.
Well, a couple of days after publishing the newsletter, I was actually on the website of Dr. Shelly Cameron. I love to go on this website because she has a lot of success strategies and leadership, information and so on. So I went on this website, www.shellycameron.com, and I actually saw her discussing the same issue of people's career being their only identity.
Right.
So I decided to reach out to her and invite Dr. Shelley for us to have a chat around this whole issue. So before I bring her on, and I'm going to introduce her. I just love that smile, Dr. Shelley, but let me introduce you properly. Dr. Shelly Cameron is the author of books on success, leadership, and inspiration. Her passion for organizational change and people development led her to invest years of research into topics of leadership and success. She published in the JAABC Journal with its ensuing recognition. Her graduate degrees in organizational leadership, health administration, and human resource management cements her coaching love. And I know that she is a good coach. Shelley was born in the Caribbean girl, and has lived in Canada, Washington, D.C., and in the Sunshine State, Florida. When she's not writing, naturally she can be found at the beach, staring at the waves. I don't know why she's not in there swimming, but anyway, staring at the waves, and or in some nook sipping tea with a book in hand or a movie in the background. And that is Dr. Shelly Cameron, who you see there. Welcome, Dr. Shelley, and thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for the invitation. You do make me smile. Thank you. So I'm excited about chatting with you, and your newsletter really stood out for me when you put it out and asked for followers, and I did subscribe to it, and I found it very interesting. It's very insightful and educative, and I was a little bit taken aback by the how insightful it was. It was pretty thorough. You gave information on things such as health management, especially in the COVID. You spoke about dementia and stuff like that that happens to persons after they retire. And I think it really, really stands out, and it's one that I think others should really, really follow. I didn't expect it to be as thorough as it was, but and because you're not a doctor, I'm from healthcare, so you're not a physician, I should say, but the information you had was quality. You got it from the source, and then you deciphered it so others, people could get into the information and know how to apply it myself as well as other people. So interesting from my perspective.
Thank you so much. Yes, I decided, to do this, and I really wanted to, really guide people, start making people being aware of what is going to happen to them
Right,
when
right,
they get to my age, and just have them start thinking about it, preparing for it, planning for it, not like me. And so, and I'm very happy that you have found the newsletter. So
yes,
to be good. So that means that I have a standard now that
yes,
I
you
have
gotta
to go.
maintain it.
Right. Well, Dr. Shelley, I was struck by that blog post that you did there. You know, and as I said, because I had just written about something of that, yeah, similar to that. You know, it really struck me. And there was this article by Jana Koretz in the Harvard Business Review that you looked at, which was titled "What Happens When Your Career Becomes Your Identity." It's
Right.
an excellent article, and I'm glad that you actually brought this to attention.
Okay.
And I would love you to, take us through some of the key points that were raised, in that article and your take on it.
Okay. So for me, I found it on social media, which is LinkedIn, and I also subscribe to it as well to Harvard Business Review. Very insightful leadership, information, and management as well. And when I saw that, I said, "Oh my goodness, this is pretty similar to what I spoke about in my book, Ditch It or Switch It." So I thought of all the persons who have been reaching out to me. As I said, it's Shelly, and people follow me for the information that you can glean on career management and anything that people want to do as soon as changing their career path. So there were 4 questions that they asked in it. One was, how do you think of your job outside of the office? How do you think of your job outside of the office? The other one was, how do you describe yourself? How much of that description is tied to your job, is tied to your title, and is tied to your company? And how would you feel if you could no longer continue in your profession? And those things stood out for me because I know I've been there and I'm coming from that. I managed the human resource portfolio for GlaxoSmithKline International, major pharmaceutical company, which was #2 worldwide. It was so stressful,
Mhm.
but exciting because I loved it. I loved working with people, and I love managing people, and I love business strategies and applying it and see the company achieve and so on and so forth. So if you asked me, what did I do? I usually share. So my identity in and of itself was also in the pharmaceutical business, my entire identity. I spent 14 years doing it. Just think about that. You could have had a child that grew up to be a teenager, and so I could align myself with it. And that's the reason I write so much about professional development. Really, that's really what it was. It's your own personal growth. So the article actually shares the number of ways that you can deal with it. And it says it's to free up your time. Because if you are able to answer yes to all of these questions asked, remember, how do you feel about your career? Do you see yourself in it? If somebody asks you and introduce yourself, is it, if your first answer is, okay, I'm a CEO of this pharmaceutical company. I am the vice president of sales and vice president of marketing. And guess what? You're not on the job, you're off the job. But you're
Exactly.
still saying to people that this is how I describe myself. So if
At,
you find
at a
yourself
family dinner party.
at a
Can you
family
imagine?
dinner,
Can you
and
imagine?
it's the thing is that old fashioned as we are, it tend to come up that way. So you're into the pharmaceutical business. Tell me about it. There's no other identity we have because all we see of ourselves is that I'm a lawyer, I'm a physician, right through. That's how they see themselves, and that's how we tend to respond. So what they referred a few responses and guidance that the article shared was to free up your time. And that one is hard for a lot of persons because it means that you have to delegate. And freeing up your time means you have to pass some of the work on to others, which means sometimes we're scared to do that because we feel that we're going to lose control,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And then the other one is start small, right? So if you want to start looking at yourself and get a little bit more healthy, as you spoke about in your newsletter article, what some of the things you can do is start exercising. I used to be a runner from, I did track most of my life, right into my adult life. I was running from whether it was my school, right through to high school, right through. I always ran. And Business South Athletic, I was there. So my path is, if I think of exercising and you're tall, usually involves a little bit of running. Now I don't run as much, but I walk. So that's what it's saying. Okay, if you find yourself feeling guilty that you're no longer running, then walk a bit. And then don't just say, okay, I'm going to run and run a marathon at my age now. No, you can't just get up and say, I'm going to run a marathon. You got to start small. So those are some of the things that they share that in order for you to get back at your identity. And another one is to rebuild the network. That one is so important to me. I believe that that is so important because guess what? Our network is usually still in the office, right?
Yes.
It's still in the office. It's still, and I say office loosely because if it wherever your career paths take you, that network of persons are the ones. And now we see how we can stand out in this COVID era where we're not necessarily meeting together anymore with
Exactly.
persons like ourselves. So we have to try and widen that network. And what they suggest is that you start looking out. Look out at and contact maybe 4 or 5 persons who used to, from before and you had a very good relationship. But because of your busy schedule and the job and stuff, you find yourself being separated from them. So they're saying start pulling people together outside of the office, outside.
And now that we have social media,
Right.
that is a good place for you to start looking for all the people you went to school with, all the people you went to Sunday school with.
Yeah.
That girl in Sunday school that you really, really like. Both of you used to take
Yes.
your collection and buy 3 together, right? Go
Right.
find all those people.
Right. Exactly. Because we tend to pull away from our network and that's what causes burnout a lot.
Yeah.
And you're not in charge of yourself. So I hope that answers the questions that they ask. If your answer to those questions are yes, and those are some tips as to how you can start delegating and stuff like that.
And it's a good thing that you talked about that, because I think that is what has saved me now. The fact that even when I was working, I was doing a lot of hobbies. I was doing music. I was into sports,
Yeah.
and doing all sorts of social things. I was in the church,
Yeah.
doing a lot of charity work, in the church work, and so on. And that, I think, is what has saved me in my retirement, because I had all of those connections. So when it came to the point at which I realized that, because of my health, I had to come out, and there was no preparation, nothing for retirement. When I realized that I had to just stop and cut, there wasn't, I didn't have this. I had this network out there of things to do, and people to connect with outside of the job itself.
Right.
So
And what I remember, I saw you on social media sharing, was what stood out for me with you is the swimming. So I
oh
think
yes,
you never swam before and
yes,
you decided that you were going to get involved in swimming and challenge yourself. And that's what really stands out for me. I really like that about what I saw of you there on the social media. You doing your swimming, you're going in a slant direction, but you were doing it so enthusiastically. And it showed your progress because you kept sharing it at times until I would say that you've mastered the areas that you wanted to master. So
yes.
you are indeed an example.
Yes, I know I'm not as elegant, as the Olympic swimmers, but I was able to go from point A to point B, and that was what was important. So no, the book, your book, oh my golly. I mean, I just think that is such a fantastic book. Your career, ditch it, switch it. And why it's fascinating for me is because I have never stayed in a job kind of more than 7 years or so, right? I don't know. Now that I'm looking at my resume, I realize that I seem to have had the 7 year itch. And there was actually when Deloitte, I actually left and then came back. So I love Deloitte, right? But I couldn't stay there too long to get a 10 year long service award. I left and then I came back. But generally, people who are working, they want this job security, they want tenure, and they want this long service award. And but you seem to be suggesting in that book that we really should be evaluating our work experiences more frequently than we currently do. And so tell me about this ditching and switching concepts that you have come up with, these fascinating concepts.
So the concept is about the job, right? Or the career path and what you're on. Sometimes it makes people miserable and they stay on it. I'm not talking about spouse, no. Though you can apply it to every situation. But this is the book. It's called Your Career, Digital Switch It. That's what we're really talking about. That the principles here can be applied to anything at all. And there are some questions that are included in it. Again, we like to ask the questions, and if you can align yourself with it, then you know. If you lack passion, that fired up feeling when you had when you just started that job, you are miserable every single morning and you dread going to work.
Wow.
If your company is sinking, if you really dislike the people you work with, you know that one, right?
Oh my golly.
And if you're consistently stressed, talking negative, or you're unhappy at work, if your skills are not being tapped, and if you've been passed over for promotion over and over again, and if your pay has not increased. So what I've found is if you can answer yes to all of those things, that's what that book is all about. Your career, digital switch it. And I'll talk a little bit more about it because in line with what you said about job security. Because most people stay in a job because they want the security of the job. In my research that you spoke about with the journal that was published in the Journal of American Academy of Business, it spoke about leadership. And in my research, what I found was that people tend to be secure in their job. And when they want the job security, they get into a job and they keep being promoted in that job. Even when sometimes they're very, very miserable. They want to leave it, but they have that nice house that and they live in the right community and their kids go to the right schools. Now, if you leave that job, you're pulling away from the security that that job provides. And that's the problem that a lot of persons who are affluent face. So my suggestion is if all of those terms that I spoke about in that book, if you can align yourself with it, if you're miserable getting up to work, and I think your example that you started out with was very, very right, spot on. The one where the gentleman, you can share again, the one where the gentleman,
Where
the
he
gentle,
coming, where he,
right. He kept going to work every single day.
oh, the lady who kept going to the job after she had retired and she kept going into the parking
Right.
lot and sitting
Exactly.
there. Mhm.
Right. So that's the synopsis of her. We tend to think that we don't want to face the reality. Sometimes you don't want to tell your family what has happened. So you get dressed every morning and you go somewhere. And that's what happened with a lot of persons because they've been doing it for a long time. If you're affluent in that group that you belong to the golf club and all of those things, it's
Yes.
hard for you to want to pull away from that because you're going to feel as though you're no longer a person. And chances are it might, because you aligned yourself, remember? You aligned yourself with all of that. You have no other network to pull on. If you don't go to church, if you don't go to anything else, we're part of an authors group. If you're not doing stuff like that, you're not doing anything else, what you find your identity is indwelt in that. And that's what I'm suggesting when I say ditch it. You gotta ditch it. And what causes people to not ditch it so readily is because they're afraid. And
Yes,
so most
yes.
of the time when I'm coaching anyone, I help them to face that fear. It is
Fear.
that fear that they have that they must face. You're going to be different. There's lawyers who have decided that they no longer want to be in a lawyer. They've been there, done that for many years. And of course, the prestige that comes with that is going to be removed. But think about that compared to that peace
Mental.
of mind that you're going to
Peace
have.
of mind.
And then you will see where it is. Besides, if you're doing what you want to do, and that's what I talk a lot about. If you're doing what you want to do, just like we can use Usain Bolt as an example,
Yes, yes,
his job
yes.
that it was all about, it was paying him. He was having fun. Think about all the things that Usain Bolt did, right? He was fastest man
And
worldwide.
then
And
and
even
then he
we
just
even
and then he just ditched it. or
That's the exact
or to
point.
ditch it or switch it because he's now real estate
Exactly. So that's
company
what we
developer and all that.
So that's what we want to say to people about switching it. So the switching it part comes in that you might be good at a career, right? And you've always been in it, but you don't like it anymore. So you can switch it. It doesn't mean that you have to become an entrepreneur because people become an entrepreneur. But what Damon John, right? Shark Tank's Damon
Yes,
John, what he has said is that what you need to do is to make sure, he's very successful entrepreneur. So he says, make sure that you do what you need to do, right? Have the job. I suggest that you work part-time. You work at nights, you work on weekends, work on the holidays when you're off from work and build that business. And then only when you've achieved some investment in that business, then that's when you can be comfortable in saying, okay, let me pull away. Sometimes you don't have a choice. Sometimes you lose your job. COVID has made a lot of people start businesses because of the fact that the whole world has been shut down and people have now got to survive. So how do they survive? They got to be creative. But then there's a reality to life. And that's where they need to really think about switch it. It's a perfect time, and I say this over and over, perfect time for you to switch career path. Sit down, go on the internet, search for the jobs that you think you might like. For example, a psychologist, because if you're listening to people's business all the time, sometimes it burns you out.
Exactly.
So what is going to happen is that some jobs you can align with other jobs. For example, human resource management, psychologist, counseling, they can take us for switching a career path to these other positions. If you're security and you want to become, your dream was always to become a police officer, go into law enforcement. There's things that you have to do. So you start planning. What do I need to do in order to get to there where I want it? So that's where the switching side of things comes into play.
Terry Reid.
Yes.
I don't know, you're familiar with her. She is the number one host for all these, all these important. If you're having an important occasion, then you get Terry Reid to be your host, and she is good. Do you know that she studied veterinary medicine?
See?
I found that out a few months ago that she studied veterinary medicine. And apparently she did it in Cuba. When she came back to Jamaica, she was told that she had to do something else, in order to, be fully qualified. And I guess at that point, she just figured she just couldn't be bothered.
Right.
And she has evolved now. She has evolved now in an amazing host, an amazing influencer, and she actually makes me.
So that's what happened with a lot of persons who are afraid. They're not realizing that, and the doctor as well. He is a big actor, right? And has come into so many movies. And he's a physician. He's not doing that. He doesn't want to practice. Sometimes, sometimes individuals are very, very smart, and the parents initially, first time parents just say, okay, I want you to become a lawyer, I want you to become a doctor. The child did not want to become some of those things. So even though they had the business acumen, they were smart, IQ and all of that, they went for something that they didn't want to do. So in the end, what you found that they did was to ditch it.
Right. Yes. So I love, and I think everybody should try and get a copy of that book, right? Especially people who are like all my 40-year-olds, right? You probably should get a copy of that book, so that if you want to ditch it or switch it, right? When you're 40, that's a good age for you to.
Right. So those are my target audience. Not necessarily, guess what, the millennials are the ones who follow me on Instagram. Because what you have to understand with millennials is, and that's also part of my life in Washington, D.C. with the Institute of Caribbean Studies, because I do a lot of work with the millennials and recognize those who are doing big businesses, making a big difference within the Caribbean and the United States and across the world, they're making a big difference. So what we do, we recognize them. And what I found is that these millennials are not like us first time where we're going to stick to a job for many, many years.
Yes, yes.
They ask you to go back to school and you say you can't afford the time to give them the time off to do it. Guess what they do? They resign and find another position, another job somewhere else that they can get to achieve their goals. They're not like us first time that are just sick. Maybe you're a millennial because you said you always had a 7-year itch.
I don't know. It was probably a character flaw, but I love
Right.
the fact because it actually took me to St. Martin, and then it took me to Nevis, and so that was good. And of course, I'm back in Jamaica now. And the last thing I wanted to ask you is just to tell me. I know that you are big on goal setting
Yes.
and planning. Uh, I want you to tell me or tell us why this is important, because as I say, I did not plan for retirement, but what I'm trying to do now is to get people to understand that you really need to start thinking about this. So just give me an idea as to why you think goal setting and planning and so on is important.
So it's very important because I speak to a lot of it is in the book, and this book is the information in the book is basically highly researched, right? During my tenure with the Ordination Leadership and Doctorate Program at Nova Southeastern. So it's research based. So it's not like I'm picking some stuff out of her hat. It's based on the research. And it's very important that people find time to plan. I believe in planning. If you don't plan it, you can't. Some people plan, they're very good planners, and guess what they do? Their problem is executing it. So they have they procrastinate and procrastinate and procrastinate. Say plan, and next year it's the same thing. If you find that that is happening over and over, get a friend who can become an accountability partner. I'm a big believer in accountability partners because it mustn't be that you're going to find a friend who is another procrastinator like yourself. That won't make any sense. You need to find a friend who is much stronger than you. And I've always said, because I do put out quotes on Instagram in the morning to motivate people. And it is, if your network is the same as yours, you need to increase the value of it. Because you can't stick around people who are all like you. You need to know that, hey, this year, this month, whatever period of time it is, I need to reach higher. And if I need to reach higher, how am I going to reach higher with the same people who are dragging me down? You need to get out of that. And then what I also suggest with that is when you're getting out of it, if it is that you can't find anybody in the network, that's where a coach comes in. And there are many coaches around that people who are going to help you to reach higher. There's such a value in it. And it must be that you find somebody who will think like you and who will understand where you want to go and how you can get there. So that's where the planning, but the executing is very, very important. And like I said, the book, I don't think you realize, but the book speaks about success, defining it for yourself, planning. It even speaks about relocation for some people who may say, okay, my environment is not what I want it to be, so I need to move out of it. How do you move out of it? What are some of the things that you need to look at? And it gives you, if you're going into a new career, what should you look for and so on. And this is all for people who are 40 and over. Because sometimes it's not that they want to do it. I actually did it. So that's why I can speak so affirmatively about it, because I did it. I was at the height of what they call success as I defined it, managing the Caribbean region with different countries. I had to know a lot of stuff, hard work. And then I realized that I'm not getting the value that I want, meaning my values. Right. After being, I'm at work until late. I'm at work before 6:30 in the morning, 6:30, 7 o'clock. I was there getting ready and, before the staff come into work. And then in the evening, I work through lunch. And then in the evening, I'm there as well, serving. So people go home, have their dinner, and then call me to share some of their issues and so on with me. And I realized this was a recurring decimal. So I was a height, and the company won the Employee of Choice Award. So I was experiencing success. And I'm telling you that And in that period, it took me about 2 years to make the decision. And I made a decision. And everybody thought it was, oh my God, how can you leave? Why are you doing it? But you have to be strong enough to say, okay, it's another path. And I want to mention that in my experience, when you're stepping onto another path, it's going to come with its ups and downs because you're going to learn new things now. You're going to be exposed. Sometimes you're going to feel as though you're exposed. Everything is exposed for you. But it actually works. Like I used your example about the swimming that you decided to go and do, and you were going in the, what is it, slant direction?
Yes,
And I'm telling you, because you don't even realize that I'm saying you were going slant direction. But guess what? Well, after a time, over and over, as you keep practicing,
yes.
practicing, you start heading straight for the
Mhm.
for the goal. I don't think your goal was for you to become an Olympic swimmer. No, you just wanted to confront a fear or some
Right.
passion that you had.
Right.
And so that's the reason I
Almost
say,
almost drowned at 8 years old, and was bitterly afraid of the water. I mean, there are so many times I have been to the sea. So many times I've been to the sea and sat down, put on bathing suit and not go in the water. And I just decided that, I was going to do something about it.
right.
Yeah.
So for what you said about me and the water, because you were picking on me before when I said I like to go to the beach, but I sit on the shore and I stare at the waves. But I do that because I'm a writer, and when I go there, I'm inspired. So I'm
Okay.
inspired to write. It's
Mhm.
not about swimming. Of course, I always go in and wet my toes, but
All
but
right.
we gotta laugh sometimes.
Yes, yes, of course, of course. Well, boy, this has been so enlightening, and
Okay.
um, I I love to follow you on Instagram because you just post all these inspirational things. Every day I look and I say, well, boy, she can't come any better than this one, and then you just flick me something else. But you're really an inspiration, and I just thank you for actually being my first
Thank you.
my
Thank
first
you.
interview.
Thank you. Thank you
Yes,
very much.
yes.
And I tell you that you may be a millennial because I'm telling you, those are the people, the audience that follow me. I don't know what they follow me for whatever reason. Because the 40s is usually what they call 40s again. When you hit 40, you become midlife crisis. So I think midlife crisis has now become 30. So now it's getting younger. These kids
Well,
realize that they have not gotten it. So you are a millennial, and that's
well, you have a 72-year-old fan, right? Big fan.
so it
So
is they can find me anywhere on it's shellycameron.com, and I have my Facebook is everything is basically Dr. Shelly C underscore success on Instagram, and on Facebook it's Dr. Shelly Cameron, and Twitter is the same thing as well, and the blog is successfulleaders.net. But you don't need to go anywhere to find anything. Just go to shellycameron.com and everything is there. Find what you want. Dig into the value of my blog. I speak a lot about career. I speak a lot about writing for those people who are aspiring authors. And I have a lot of information about writers. So I find people just dig into it because I tend, like you, to put out things of value. Um,
yes, 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 you certainly do. And I also look forward to in terms of the writing. I know that you help writers from time to time. Well, that's one of the
yes,
things you do. So I also look to probably coming to you when I'm actually there's a particular book that I want to write, and when I'm ready to write that one, that will be the third one. I'm working on the second one
right,
now. When
right.
I'm ready.
What are they again? The
Uh,
first one was,
the first one was retirement, a new adventure.
and the
And
second?
this second one is also going to be about retirement, actually about planning for retirement,
Right.
you know. And then the other one is going to be stories of my life, some crazy things that have happened to me, and that I'm going to put out there, right? So
Okay.
actually, Reverend Easton Lee had
Yes,
promised to do the
yes,
foreword for me.
yes,
But
yes,
of course, he passed
yes.
away recently.
Right,
Uh-huh.
right.
But so for those people who are watching this interview, that this discussion, it's not even an interview, it's really a chat. If you have not subscribed to the newsletter, then please do. It's www.bit.ly/retirement and new adventure newsletter, and just sign up. And when you sign up, you go to your inbox spam or so, and you find the confirmation email, and then you click confirm, and you'll be a subscriber, and it's free. Okay, so
Free valuable information.
free
I wanted to I
information.
wanted to leave you with one example of a person who retired, Miss Pat. I don't know if you call her retired. Miss Pat is the reggae music icon, and
Oh,
she had reached out to me a few years ago. We were connected in Washington D.C., and she ended up publishing her book. It's called My Reggae Music Journey. And we worked pretty closely on it, in and out and in and out, because that's what I'm really good at, helping people to realize their dreams. I really, really talk about that. And Miss Pat is 84 years old. Everybody knows her. When you talk about Shaggy, she's the one, Lady Star, Marion Hall, she's the one who has brought those guys their career. So she wanted to write and leave a legacy. And that book came out end of December, and it's going to be launched. She's been having a lot of interviews. So again, age is not a problem. It's just
yes,
another
I met
life. It's
her.
just ditch it and you switch it to something else.
I met her like about last year February. I met her when they had the launch of
Yes,
the reggae thing at
yes,
the National Gallery. I met her
yes,
then, so
yes.
yes, 84 years old, just write a book. So, come on, my seniors. All right. Well, Dr. Shelley, it was just fabulous talking to you. And I, wish you well. And,
Thank you.
I'll continue to collaborate with you, and, really, we'll reach out to each other on, on the different platforms. And thank
Yes.
you so much. And, to everyone, I say just take care of yourselves, right? Thanks for watching, everybody. Just be safe and be blessed.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Bye.